Hi, how's your week? I'm Josh Cooperman, and this is Convo by Design. This week, we're talking with an artist I think you should know. His name is Brent Warr, and his work is unique. It's also very cool. Before I get to telling you about Brent, I want to share some show announcements with you. By the time you're hearing this, the West Edge Design Fair has wrapped for 2022. The first edition in Dallas, Texas. If you missed it, it was amazing, and you can still enjoy parts of it through all of the recorded conversations, panels, and events here on Convo by Design. So if you subscribe to the show today, you can get every talk delivered directly to your podcast feed. Also, the Convo by Design 2022 Remote Design House Tulsa project is in full swing, and episodes and videos are being published as the content is completed. So that too will hit your podcast feed by subscribing. Finally, it's hard to even conceive this, but it has been 10 years, and the 400th numbered episode is being released shortly. Why do I say numbered? Because over the years, I have produced special segments like the Lone Star House of Design, Designing for Disaster, the Legends, Legendary Conversation series that I never numbered. They were just special series, limited run series. But the 400th numbered episode is being released shortly. I have selected a number of conversations from shows over the past years, and we'll be sharing short clips from those and other special segments with you very, very soon. Your third reason to subscribe to the show. So check the show notes for links, or simply subscribe wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Brent Warr is an artist who specializes in furniture design. Or perhaps he's a furniture maker who crafts amazing furniture art. Either way, and both are right, actually. His work is sculptural and fun. Brent has a distinct, he's got this Freddie Mercury vibe, and he is one of those rare creatives who produce work you just want to touch and feel. And I mentioned in our chat that his work reminds me of the set decor from the 1988 Michael Keaton movie Beetlejuice. I don't know if you remember the movie, but I do. It was a special time for me. It was 1988. I'm a teenager in the San Fernando Valley in Southern California. Glenn Shaddix played the part of Otho, the interior designer, and the set was decorated by Catherine Mann. Mann, who worked on pictures like Karate Kid Part 3 and Caddyshack Part 2, also on the TV show WKRP in Cincinnati. So I guess that yellow tape that made up Les Nessman's door is due to Catherine Mann. You know what? I don't know if that's true. I'm going to look into it. But all of these things hold a very special place in my heart from the mid-'80s. But Beetlejuice was different. This was my first exposure to interior design. I didn't understand it, but I knew I liked it. Anyway, check the work, watch the movie, and let me know your thoughts. So as you listen, kind of keep that in mind. This is my conversation with Brent Warr. But first, this. For well over a year now, you have been hearing incredible conversations, interviews, and panels with amazing creative talent as part of our Wellness and Design Thought Leadership series presented by Thermosol. It has been and continues to be an absolute joy working with the entire team at Thermosol from the top down. This multi-generational family business has been producing the gold standard in steam generators, saunas, steam showers, and steam shower accessories for decades. Thermosol is the original steam shower with technology that is state-of-the-art, made and manufactured in the United States. The company's history with steam showers started by David Altman in 1958. Murray Altman acquired Thermosol's steam bath division in 1989, and the company is now led by Mitch Altman from their world-class production facility in Round Rock, Texas. The most successful designers and architects are using steam showers to maximize wellness, relaxation, and enjoyment for their clients. ThermaSol is a staunch advocate for the design trade, and I am so proud to have them as a presenting partner of Convo by Design and the Wellness and Design Thought Leadership Series. If not familiar with the entire range of ThermaSol products, please check out thermasol.com. Well, good. Easy going is perfect. It's the way it should be. Life's too short to be uptight.
Completely agree.
Yeah. So you have 1 foot in Atlanta and 1 foot in New York City, or are you based in Atlanta?
I'm mostly based in Atlanta, but I have 2 galleries that I work with out of New York. So I'm usually up in New York probably once every 2 months, once every 6-8 weeks ish. And I used to live in New York, and I have a lot of friends there, so I kind of travel back and forth.
So I am a complete sucker for the origin story.
Okay.
Especially when it comes to creatives.
Okay.
Just because there are so many different ways to get to the same place.
Yeah, completely agree.
How'd you get here?
That's a great question. I can tell you this. I can definitely, when I was in college and coming out of college, if you would have told me that I was going to be doing what I would have done and doing now, I would have laughed, which is kind of funny. But yeah, so a little bit about my background: was born and raised in this super tiny, small conservative town in South Georgia. Went to school in Alabama at Auburn University and studied design. And after school, I got my first job with this amazing firm out of New York, interior design firm, and worked for them for a little bit over a year. And then, COVID hit and the pandemic happened, and they ended up, I think, laying off like 30-40% of everyone who worked there. And, so I was like, okay, and so I moved back to South Georgia, and then ended up settling in Atlanta about a month after. And, I had moved to Atlanta, and I was, I appreciate nice furniture and nice lighting. And that was something that I really fell in love with at that job. We were working in, 5- and 6-star hotels, resorts, and high-end residential. And my team in particular was doing, really designing all of the custom FF&E and the lighting and all the furniture. And I really just fell in love with that. And I was like, I want to try to build some things for my apartment because I'm broke and I want to have some nice furniture, and kind of did it just as a hobby, built 1 or 2 pieces and got some good feedback. And, was really just frustrated with the job market, in 2020 and COVID. And, got to third, fourth round interviews with companies and just was really pissed off. And I was like, screw it. I'm going to start my own company. And that's kind of where I started, and ended up working for, fully remote for a little bit over a year for, this amazing firm in New York doing business development. So that was really great. Kind of gave me an eye into the business acumen side of how everything worked, and proposals and contracts, how to work with clients, and all that jazz. But yeah, that's kind of where I just kind of fell into it, and I had really good perception, and I was like, I'm going to figure this out, and I'm going to work my ass off and kind of figure out what I want this to be. And that's a little bit of background, I guess.
No, it's good. Where would you say you are right now? Because here's what's so interesting to me. Mm-hmm. You're at the beginning of your journey. You really are. You put things in. We put things in context of days and weeks, months and years, and the pandemic did this kind of time warp. Yeah. Especially in design and architecture, and people that I've been speaking with for the last 3 years. It's hard for me to say the last 3 years without just being like, I remember day one. It was March 12th, and yep. I had a design influencer group gathering at a showroom in West Hollywood, and there were supposed to be 8 designers, and 5 showed up, and the other 3 were like, sorry, not coming out. I don't know what this thing is. And by the way, I think it's really interesting. Not that you have to be gay to be able to appreciate a pandemic, but I do feel like those in the gay community really did kind of say, okay, hang on a minute. After AIDS and being so directly affected, a certain generation being like, I don't know what this is. I'm just going to stop and be careful and see what this is. And it turned out that those who were cautious at the start, it served them well. But what this whole thing has done is it kind of created this time vacuum where it's like, where did the last 3 years go? So
3 years
that
ago,
is my that is my incredibly long-winded way of kind of asking you. You've been doing this for a number of years now, but you're still at the very beginning of your journey. Does it feel that way?
Yes and no. I've been super fortunate and lucky to meet some really amazing people, in the past like 2 to 3 years that have kind of helped me out and kind of gave me a platform to foster my art and my furniture and lighting, and that's been really amazing. But no, like I would be, I'm at the very beginning of my career, at least how I see it, and I'm super young and I still have so much to learn, and I would be naive to think that I would not be that way. I think one of the biggest personal qualities that like I hold dear is like I want to be like a lifetime learner, and that's something that the minute you think you know everything, it's like that's the minute that you're going downhill. It's like that's just not how I was brought up and not how I was raised, and that's not the train of thought that I think that I come in to work with every day. But yeah, no, I'm still at the very beginning of what I hope will be a very long and exciting career in this industry, and something that I have some really exciting things coming up in the next year. So I'm really really excited to kind of see where it takes off and goes to.
Tell me about your process. Tell me about your work is very unique, and I suppose you could say that about any designer or artist, creator. But the way that you work, the materials that you work with, and the manner in which you're handsy, you're getting into it. You're really working and plying and bending and morphing and conforming. How did you come to this style, and not the style in which the finished product looks, but the style in which you put it together and the way you work it? And were you like this as a kid?
Yeah. Great question. So, I think with what I do, to be frank, I had no, formal training in woodworking or metalsmithing or any of these, I guess, what we would call, just more trade jobs, welding, all of these kind of things. I had no experience in any of this. And so when I was looking to try to find, just coming from a strict business point of view, I was like, okay, where is a niche in the market and where is something that I can fill? And then also, what is a material that I can find and learn how to work with in a somewhat relatively quick amount of time, within a year, and not necessarily master, but get really good at what I do. And not spend 10 years trying to become a master woodworker, so, and I really settled on, this like plaster pulp mix, which I've kind of created, and then also use resins and a couple other different materials to kind of bond everything together. And then it's all sanded, painted, and sealed. But it was all like iterations. Like I first started off with just, plaster on wood. And I was like, this is obviously not going to work because plaster can't stick to that. And then, applying other things to it. And just, it was all trial and error for 6 months. Honestly, actually about a year of like trying to fine tune my process of like, how do I create something that's really unique and different, but it's also extremely structurally, has a structural integrity that's not going to crack or chip or break or, all these other things. Because, if you're buying a console or a light or whatever it is, dining table for X amount of dollars, like it has to be, you want it to be able to be lasting, it's like, and that's a whole different conversation of, whether design and art, should it be lasting? Should it be something that like, it's only meant for for looks? Is it meant for function? There's all these other questions you can ask too. We can get into that later, but I think as a kid, I've always been a creative. I guess. I mean, I knew I wanted to go to college for something creative. I originally wanted to be an architect. And that's actually what I went to school for to start. And I was like, oh, this is horrible. I hate this. Like, I got in my first studio freshman year, and I was like, no, I have to switch majors. This is not for me. I don't want to be sitting behind a desk redlining all day for the first couple of my years. That's just not what I want to do. But yeah, the process is something that I'm still evolving, and I'm really excited going into the fall and next year. I'm going to start incorporating some different materials into my products, which I'm super, super excited about, and growing in my knowledge of those things. I hope that answered your question partially.
It's funny. I have no expectation for any of the questions I asked you. I'm asking because I'm curious, and your work is very, very unique. And to be quite honest with you, it looks like it's a ton of fun to do. You look like you're having a really good time. And that something that you said where you were like, you went to school for architecture and you're thinking, no, I cannot think of anything further from architecture than what you are doing now.
Yeah, so true. I mean, I think what's really amazing about my work is everything is made by hand. Nothing, everything is made in my studio, me and my studio assistant here in Atlanta. And, we have some amazing, I have amazing glass blower and a metal smithing guy that I work with, but pretty much everything is made by me and my assistant. And what's so great is it's all, everything is formed perfectly and unperfectly. And what I love is like all of my work, I can make two pieces of the exact same type of furniture at the exact same time, and they're going to look a little bit different. And I personally love that. And that's what if I were to do a piece for you or, for a client, it's like, if it's going to have a handmade, hand-touched feel. Like you're going to look at it and be like, oh, someone made this. This was not made in a factory overseas. Like someone spent time and spent, hours and hours, like actually forming and making this. And that's, it's like you're getting a piece of me when you buy something from me.
You are listening to my chat with Brent Warr. We'll be right back. So listen, Wallpaper's having a moment, a well-deserved moment that is allowing designers to craft and create in new and amazing ways. Convo by Design has a new partner this year. This partnership includes participation in our remote design house Tulsa project, of which you will be hearing a lot about this year. I've been working closely with an exclusive group of partners, and I am absolutely thrilled to be working with York Wall Coverings. This company has been crafting exquisite wall coverings for over a century, with an archive that dates back to the early 18th century. This deeply rich history provides inspiration for the future, and the designs available through the York Wall Covering Studio have long been lauded for their authenticity and craftsmanship. This artistry, and history combined with a commitment to continually reimagining the manufacturing process allows York Wall Coverings to provide a consistently exquisite product. For options and inspiration, find them online, yorkwallcoverings.com. You can also find their store locator tool online at yorkwallcoverings.com for a location near you. I have a follow-up to that. That also relates to the origin story. I'm curious. I was speaking to another creative recently who has been doing it a little bit longer, but we got into this conversation about starting the business, right? And how did you start the business, and how did you grow the business, and how did you scale the business? And I kind of want to ask the same line of questioning of you, because I find it so fascinating now. I think also one of the things that the years, and it's funny, Brent, I'm going to get to the point where I'm going to stop saying the word pandemic because I'm just so tired of it. But I'm just going to call it a blip in time. But we've got this blip in time between 2020 and 2022 where the business was completely turned on its head. Everything that you used to be able to rely on, right? Pricing, supply chain, quality of materials, delivery times, relatively speaking, the manner in which product was actually delivered. And so I'm working on this design house in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I've told this story a bunch of times, but I'm doing it room by room because I'm a content creator. So I'm not selling tickets to it and people aren't touring it. It's actually it's a real design house, but it's a remote project where I've got designers and creatives from all across the country working on this space in Tulsa. So September of 2021, we specified and ordered all of this product. Well, it didn't get here until mid-June 2022. Right. And of the 23 items that were delivered, over half were damaged in some way, shape, or form. Yep. Of those that were damaged or not damaged, but of those 23 items, over half of them were discontinued.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah, because they couldn't get the parts and they can't make the labor. Yeah, of course. Yep.
So you get to repairs, delivery issues, respecification. So everyone that I have spoken to over the last couple of years in the business has had to change what they do in some way, shape, or form. Now, right. Because you are starting at this sort of ground zero in this new reality, I kind of want to dig in a little bit on how you started the business. There's a lot of artists out there that nobody will ever know because they don't get any publicity. They don't get any traction. Mm-hmm. How did you start the business? How did you form the business? How do you get the publicity and attention you need? And how do you specifically work your partnerships? You talk about an assistant, you talk about a metal worker. How do you form your partnerships?
Yeah, this is all great. I think, just being honest, I think the biggest thing is there's a level of like, you have to want it. Like owning and running and operating your own business it's fucking hard. Like it's not easy. And I think some people think that, and especially creatives and artists in general, I don't think we realize sometimes like what it actually takes to make a business successful and to actually like be netting profits, because we get so caught up in our product or our creative process that we think we're making the best stuff ever, but like no one's going to know who you are. Like if you're not, and also there's a level of buy-in and pay-in that like, if like you really want it, like you may have to pay a PR agent X amount of dollars a month to do this. You like need to hire probably staff. Like you need to do your research and like, and then you also get into the entire like other side of like the legal LLCs, like how are you setting up your business as a corporation, like all of these other things that I think that I was a little bit fortunate. Like my dad started 2 companies from when I was little, and so I had the privilege of growing up in a family where he was like, like the best way for you to actually live the life you want to live is to be your own boss, and I have always been told that from an early age. And so I think I was a little bit fortunate, I guess, to have that, and to ask his advice on things. But at the same time, it's, I really wanted this. And there's a level of financial investment that you have to, if you want to do it, and, at least you have to try, you have to start somewhere and give that investment. But for me personally, and I guess a little bit like more on my story is like how, I kind of started the business process. So I, registered everything as like an LLC, and I just did that at the end of 2020, January of 2021. And during that time, I had actually just started working fully remote for a firm out of New York, another interior design firm, and a top tier amazing firm. And I was actually doing business development for them. And so I worked in BD for a little bit over a year with this firm at the same time. And they knew exactly, like I had told them going into it, I was like, hey, I'm FYI, like I'm working on my own like furniture, lighting, like art, I'm working on all of this stuff. Just so you're not in the dark of anything what I'm doing. And I'm very, very aware. And but yeah, I worked there, and I knew I wanted a job working in BD because I was like, this is going to give me the level of business acumen that I need to then go and run my own company at some point. I didn't know if I would stay with them for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, but I was working all of 2021, probably for about 8 to 10 months, around 70, 80-hour weeks, doing both. I was doing my company, and then I was putting my corporate job first and then doing my company on the side. So I was working weekends, I was working nights. And I think there's a level of honestly mindset, that every day, like, you have to whatever you have to do, whether that be a podcast or whether that be reading a book or taking, 15, 20 minutes to meditate, or like whatever that may be for whoever in the morning, to start your day and get your head in the right place of, hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm fostering, this idea of like what I want to do. And I think mindset is so big, and fostering that on a daily basis to like allow you to reach, your goals, even if it's going to be hard. And I think that's when even we get into a whole different topic of my generation. And we want everything now. We want it now. We wanted it yesterday. We don't want it now. We wanted it yesterday. And I think that's what a lot of people don't at least some, either peers or like other people, whether it be friends or other people in the industry, or other young creatives, they want something now, but don't want to put the work in to get it. And they don't want to also not only put the work in, but even they're putting the work in, they don't want to have to sacrifice X to get, something 5-10 years on the line. Yeah, so that's kind of, I guess, my opinion on it. So I can guess I can go and be, if you want me to be more specific on things, I can do that too.
Yeah, no, specifically. So with art, it's really interesting because you're so subjective. Like,
yeah.
you can't take your work and put it next to, all kinds of manufactured goods in a showroom, and
right.
Your work is not going to be mistaken for anyone else's. Right.
Correct.
Which is good and bad. It's a blessing and a curse, because you're going to get a designer in there who says, oh my gosh, my client is going to absolutely love this. And then it's a no-brainer. A client falls in love with a certain style, or they say,
mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if my client is going to love this. Now, I'm going to tell you, the moment I saw your work, I absolutely fell in love with it. I am a huge fan of, do you remember the movie Beetlejuice?
Yes, I get that all the time. Beetlejuice, Flintstones, I get all kinds of stuff.
I don't get Flintstones, but I do get Beetlejuice, because I grew up with that movie. And what I love about it is not that it looks like what was in the movie, or not that it's stylistically the same, but I love what your work does for me is it elicits a response.
Yes, and that's all I can hope for. That is the best. Like, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and it's and I make the connection again, not because it looks like it, but because I absolutely love that movie. It's one of those things, like, there's movies and music, right? Mm-hmm. So I grew up as a teenager in the San Fernando Valley in Southern California, listening to new wave. So when I hear like a New Order song, when I hear Blue Monday, like, I am transferred back there instantly, right?
Right.
And Beetlejuice was one of those movies that really like affected me when I was young, and I'm growing up. Mm-hmm. And hopefully they don't remake it. Hopefully it's not one of the movies that they.
Right.
But because of that, that was actually my first. I'm not a designer, Brent. I come from broadcast. I don't come from this industry.
Right.
But I've always loved design and architecture. And when I was a kid, that movie was my first exposure to interior design. That was the first time I ever recalled that, like, oh, someone will come. My parents didn't. We didn't have an interior designer.
Right. So I mean, neither do we. Yeah, neither do we.
So someone could come in and actually style the manner in which you live. What a cool idea. And then it's like, wow, that's amazing. So for you, that's got to be like, that's the end goal, is to elicit a response.
Right. Completely. And to kind of go off of that, the response can be good or bad, but I don't care, as long as as long as someone, I'm serious, like as long as someone can form an opinion, I've done a good job. Because I think my biggest thing is, it's like I want to have a particular style, and obviously my style will progress and grow. But I want to have a client or someone look at it and be like, oh, like that's amazing, or like, oh, I really don't like that. I would much rather have both of those sides of the equation than someone be like, you know.
First and foremost, do you consider yourself leaning more as an artist or as a furniture maker?
As an artist, I call myself as a functional artist. So that's kind of the term I've kind of given myself. I so I also so I have current existing collections, but then I'm also more so of my business is getting into like the collectible design world, and so creating pieces that are limited edition or one of 12 ever made or one of a kind, that kind of stuff. And that's my favorite work to do, because then I get to really express exactly what I want, and I want to create, and don't really have to think too much about the client or retail side of the equation.
And it's funny too, because I was looking at your Instagram, and your Instagram is really unique and interesting, because all too often what people will do is they will move on to a new chapter in their life, and then they will completely erase everything that happened prior to that. You didn't do that.
No.
And I find that really interesting, because
go ahead. Sorry.
No, please.
No, I think a part of it, it's like when you buy one of my pieces, you're buying me. Like you're not buying a piece of furniture from China. It's like you're buying Brent Warr. Like that's what you're buying. And I think it's very, obviously we're all private. But I like my social media to like also reflect a little small bit of my personal life. I think that's very important. That's just me personally. It's like, because I'm using my last name as my brand. It's not like I've created this whole branding guidelines of how I want to do everything, which I have done that somewhat. But it's like, this is my brand, is my face. It's me. That's what you're buying. You're also buying, like, if like it's a, there are definitely clients that, they're going to love the piece. They don't really care who it is. That's great. I've had those clients, but I really love clients who actually we get to connect and have a conversation about the piece they're buying, and for me to get to know a little bit about them and share some of my own story,
And you and I have been to many of the same places. You're a traveler. You like to move around.
I do. I enjoy travel some. I haven't done it actually much since the pandemic, but
oh really? You haven't?
Not really. I've been back and forth in the States. Like I've been to Miami, New York, like LA. I've been to places in the US, but I'm actually prepping for. I'm actually taking 2.5-3 weeks off to go to London and Paris in September, which is really exciting. I'm very excited about that, because I haven't been overseas since 2018. So I'm excited to go over there.
What's the process for you, and what's the goal? Do you want to stay residential? Do you want to get hospitality? Do you want to go commercial? Where do you envision your work winding up, if not now, then in the near future?
Yeah, great question. I think probably two of those fit pretty well. So like I said earlier, my business, I have standing collections, and the price point is a little bit lower. And so those can be used for residential, some commercial, honestly, and then hospitality. The price points are lower to be in that, be more mass market. And then I also have the other side of my business where I do more so of my collectible functional design. That the price point, typically that's going to, high-end residential or collectors in particular, who are like, these are, art collectors, dealers, furniture collectors, that type of stuff. And that's, I personally think that I can grow in both of those ways, and have two sides of my business that I'm working on. I don't think you have to be exclusively one way or the other. That's just my personal, but in 5 years that may change. to on the side of things which I love the most, I honestly love the more collectible, one of a kind, limited edition pieces, because it allows me to be have a little bit more creative freedom with things, and some more fun. That's what I love doing. But then also, like, from a business standpoint, I mean, if things are selling well on existing collections, like, why would I stop that? And they're also still beautiful products that I love,
I do. And it's funny because I asked the question as we talk about this, I try to get inside your head a little bit and wonder what it would be like for you. You're in New York City, you walk into a skyscraper, you walk into the lobby of a major skyscraper, Midtown Manhattan, and you see a 20-foot long white desk counter that is one of your stools or one of your chairs or that looks exactly like that. But in this case, it's 20, 25, 30, 50 feet long, where
Right.
everybody's just, it's part of or the front desk of a hotel. Do you ever think about that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm actually, and that's like a huge goal of mine, like moving into 2023. Like, I would love to get a massive hospitality project. Like, that would be so exciting for me. Like that, and it'd be a huge challenge. Like, I also, like, I try to challenge myself as a designer and an artist all the time. And so something of that scale would be really, really challenging and fun for me. I know, I'm, currently in the process of, like, negotiating on doing this full bar build out for a bar here actually in Atlanta. That's really exciting. This new kind of concept that's coming in 2023. And so I potentially, if things all go to plan, we'll be doing like a 15-foot bar build out that'll all be like with like hanging things for all the glasses. It should be really cool. So we'll see. But yes, that's something that's I would absolutely love to do, like a big commercial or hospitality project like that.
And then back to the business and development. You've done this before.
Mm-hmm.
You've done the business
Right.
development side of things. So how do you work as artist and as business development director, as sales manager at the same time? Or do you have somebody else who does that for you?
No, I do everything right now. I at the end of the day, I think sometimes I think people can overthink things. At the end of the day, all this is about is client relationships. I mean, at the end of the day, if we're, it's like, who do you want to work with? Do you really enjoy working with this person? Do you have a good relationship? If you have a good relationship, then they'll probably buy from you and order from you. It's like, so it's. I think some people can be, and I've been. I've done this before, is, be really aggressive up front and be like, hey, like, this is who I am. This is what I want to do. I'd love to sell you something, rather than like, hey, like, this is my company. I'd love to even just go grab coffee with you. I'd love to go and, like, I would love to take 20 minutes of your time and show you my collection. Like, I'm not expecting you to buy anything. I would love to just try to foster a relationship with you, maybe for something in the future. I think coming at it from a business standpoint of being very humble and open and not wanting anything in return, like, that's how you're going to actually build a growing and a business that's also going to be fun for you and fun for your clients. I think it's not, at the end of the day, it's not all about the bottom line, even though there are definitely days where it is. But yeah, I personally think it's all about relationships. And but yes, I do all three of those things, and it is definitely challenging at times. And that's also partially why I hired a full-time studio assistant. She's been working with me for about a month full-time, just to take some of the production off of my end, where I'm still working and helping make everything. But I'm definitely kind of more in a creative director role, but still also, like, I think it's also very important to still be hands-on with the things I do, and still making sure that everything is exactly how I want it. And I also think it's very important there's a level of, like, leading by example of, it's like, because some of the stuff we do is, like, it's hard work, like sanding for hours and hours and hours on end, some of these pieces. And, like, I also think it's very important just to show the people that you work with that you've been there and you've done it before, and helping them, like, sand and, like, plaster everything, and, like, being very involved with the production is very important. Just to show that you can do it and have done it,
And part of that is, sorry, finish the thought.
No, I was done. I was done. That was it.
Because I was going to ask you, you made me think about something else, and that is the actual facility from which you work on this. Not everyone can have a studio in a 2-car garage or of their own. So you have a shared space. How does that how does that work, by the way? Just out of curiosity. So you want to do an interview, but someone's in there welding. I'm just curious when it comes to welding and noise and sanding and plaster splatter. How does it all work?
It's challenging. So we have basically, I'm in this big shared studio space in Atlanta. It's in this like old warehouse, and within the massive space, there's like co-working spaces in terms of like there's like a little small wood shop, and there's like a metalworking space, and there's other little small things around it. But then I have my own individual studio with like closed walls and everything within that larger space, and so do other whether it be makers or artists or like whatever they are. But yeah, no, it's challenging to be able to have a conversation with you or with a client or something where like it needs to be quiet and in a professional setting. And I don't personally love taking calls from the car, but sometimes I have to. Or either I'm like, okay, I'll plan my day around, like if I have a meeting at X time, I'll make sure that I go to a coffee shop and just take time, to do that. It's very frustrating. I am in the process of potentially looking around for like my own space. We'll see what what kind of happens. It really depends on the market. But yeah, I'm kind of getting to a point where I am needing and wanting my own space for a multitude of reasons.
I would imagine, and that's also the biggest part of growth is being able to find raw materials, space to work, and the time to do it.
Yeah. So, but I mean, the good thing is like where I'm located right now. Like I have the metal fabricator that I use. He's literally like 4 bays down from me. So like 0.1 miles from where I'm at. And then the people I work with that like hand blow my glass, like they're like 2 miles away. So it's like very conveniently located. And so there are some great benefits, but yeah, I'm just getting to a point where I really need and want my own space, and I think that's a goal that I plan to have in the next year, as a space for my own wants, and just there's things that I want to do that I'm just not able to do because it's not my building.
Yeah, exactly. Brent, this was really great. This was fantastic. Thank you for making the time to do this. I am going to I'm excited to follow your career because I think it's going to be really exciting, and I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for taking the time today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Josh. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And for all those who are listening, if interested, as always, check the show notes, and there will be links to Brent's social and website. Brent, thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Josh.
I know you love talking about great partnerships the same way I do. Let me tell you about an incredible design partner who is working with us on the Convo by Design Remote Design House Tulsa project, Franz Wegner, a company created in 1899 in Attendorn, Germany. They started manufacturing brass beer taps. In 1921, the company expanded to Buenos Aires, manufacturing brass faucetry. The company launched in the US in 1992, and Franz Wegner Premium Collection began in 2008. Franz Wegner crafts high-quality, premium faucets with the objective to create a design-oriented luxury product that exceeds the standards set by world-class designers and architects. Pretty heady stuff, and they do it. If you see a Franz Wegner faucet, it is stunning. You use Franz Wegner faucets, and they perform flawlessly. Product you can depend on after over 120 years designing a truly stunning faucet line. For more information and to check out the entire line of faucets, visit franzwegner.com. So I'm going to spell it for you, right? FranzVegner.com. Thank you, Franz Wegner. Amazing, super fun. Thank you, Brent. Special thanks to Convo by Design sponsors and partners, Thermosol, Moya Living, York Wall Coverings, Franz Wegner, and Article Furniture. Thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedule to listen to Convo by Design. I produce this show for you, those in the design industry, to hear what others are doing and hopefully provide you with some inspiration to do that thing you're doing. Remember why and for whom you craft and create. Please subscribe to the show so you don't miss a single episode. You can find us everywhere you get your favorite podcasts. Thank you. Have a great week, and take today first.